Hey there, welcome to the Lighthouse Church sermon broadcast. The title of today's message is, So You've Decided, Now What? Last week we looked at the decision that changes everything, the decision to follow Jesus. If you recently made that decision to follow Jesus, well done. Today I want to help you to follow Jesus by presenting a big picture view of the life of a Jesus follower. If you're still thinking about it, I respect that. But please keep listening, because I think what we're going to look at today will help you to make an informed decision. The biblical word that is used to describe a follower of Jesus is disciple. Because it's not a common word these days, we find that it can mean different things to different people. So today we're going to look at things that Jesus said about a disciple so that we can understand what Jesus means by the word disciple. Let's start with our key text from last week. Matthew chapter 16, verses 24 to 25. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." A disciple of Jesus is a follower of Jesus. That means that we no longer set the direction or the agenda for our lives. Jesus does. We are now following a new leader, Jesus. He is the one who is now in charge. So, when Jesus and I think differently about something, I don't try and change his mind. I change my mind. When his plans are different from my plans, I don't try and change his plans. I change my plans. I'm no longer following myself. I'm now following Jesus. He is now the one who makes the plans. He is the one who leads the way. Most of you will know that for most of us, this does not come naturally. We are by nature self-seeking and self-protecting. We are naturally followers of ourselves. So we have to make and keep on making this decision that we will not follow ourselves, but we will follow Jesus. Understanding this, Jesus likens the life of discipleship to being crucified daily. Not that we're literally hung on a cross and crucified every day, but that we daily surrender our desire to be in charge. So a disciple of Jesus is first and foremost a follower of Jesus. Jesus is now in charge. Now, if we are going to follow Jesus, we need to know where he's going. We need to know what he wants us to do. And the next text helps us with this. John chapter 8, verse 31. To the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, "If you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples." A disciple of Jesus learns and obeys what Jesus taught. Practically for us, this means that the New Testament books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the most important books that we could ever read because they record his teaching. I'm sure you know that many people are teaching many things these days. We're writing books, recording videos, uploading podcasts, running courses. Some of them are really interesting. But for the disciple of Jesus, what is most interesting is what Jesus taught. Now, I'm not saying that we mustn't read other books or listen to other people. In fact, we will later see that Jesus told his disciples that they must teach others. But as we read and listen to others, our greatest goal should be to better understand and obey what Jesus taught. I'm really glad that you're watching this video, but not to get a lot of views, but because you are hearing the words of Jesus. My role is to help you to focus on what Jesus has taught. So, a disciple of Jesus learns and obeys Jesus' teaching. If we stopped here, it may sound as if discipleship is all about Bible study. And we've seen that studying Jesus' words and ways in the Bible is extremely important. But there is another aspect of discipleship that is absolutely vital. We find this in John chapter 15 and verses 5 to 8. I am the vine, and you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. There are actually two important aspects of discipleship in this text. The first is that a disciple of Jesus has a close relationship with Jesus. You remain in me, and I in you. This word translated remain means to stay in a set place or state or relationship. Jesus likens the relationship that he wants to have with you and I to a branch attached to a vine. Now, a branch is permanently attached to the vine. It doesn't attach on Sunday morning and detach for the rest of the week. And as disciples of Jesus, our relationship with him is not a Sunday interest or hobby. It is a vital aspect of our everyday life. A disciple of Jesus seeks to grow in knowledge and obedience, but he or she is even more concerned about living in a close relationship with Jesus. Actually, we seek to grow in knowledge and obedience in order to live close to Jesus. This is why it's really important to spend time in prayer as well as in study. We need to spend time in Jesus' presence. And as our prayer habits develop, we will find that our relationship develops. So a disciple of Jesus seeks and develops a close relationship with Jesus. In this text, Jesus also teaches us that a disciple of Jesus lives a fruitful life. Jesus says, "This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples." Just as we know a tree by its fruit, people know that we are disciples of Jesus because we begin to look a bit like him. We begin to do things that he did. We begin to say things that he said. Some may even say to us, "I see something of Jesus in you." Now, Jesus says that this fruit is the result of our close relationship. It's not something we can do on our own. We can try really hard to look like Jesus, to live like Jesus. But if we try on our own, we will make fake fruit. A bit like, that plastic fruit that some people use for decoration. It may look good, but there's no life in it. If a branch is attached to the vine, beautiful fruit will naturally grow from it. And if you and I are attached to Jesus, living in a growing, genuine relationship with Him, then our lives will be supernaturally transformed. We will bear Jesus fruit, not fake fruit. Jesus fruit is full of life, and those around us will be blessed by us. We also learn in this text that this fruit grows because of Jesus' words in us. That's verse 7. If we are reading His words regularly, we are regularly hearing Him, and we begin to become full of His words. And this inevitably changes our lives. So a disciple of Jesus lives a fruitful life from being in His presence and being full of His words. Our second to last text teaches us that disciples live in loving community, the family of God, or the church. John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. Then we're going to jump to John chapter 15, verses 12 and 13. A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Jumping to chapter 15, verse 12. My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. So disciples of Jesus love one another. You've surely noticed that there are some churchgoers who fight with each other. And this, friends, is not a mark of discipleship. As disciples follow Jesus together, we learn to love one another. And Jesus describes what this love is like. This is so much more than saying something like, hey, I love you, bro. No, it's about putting one another ahead of ourselves. We lay down our lives for one another. We do things that we don't really want to do. And we don't do things that we really want to do, so that we can be a blessing to each other. As we follow Jesus in community, in the local church, we will inevitably find that we disagree with one another about certain things. We'll discover that we have different convictions, we have different preferences. We'll sometimes misunderstand, disappoint, even offend each other. But as disciples of Jesus, we don't let these things divide us. We lay down our lives for one another. We give each other grace. We forgive. We let go of our issues. We extend Jesus-like sacrificial love to one another. We seek not to be blessed, but to be a blessing to the others. Disciples of Jesus love one another. Last text. Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 to 20. Then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. Disciples of Jesus make more disciples of Jesus. A disciple is also a disciple maker. We help others to follow Jesus. Now, I've heard people say, my faith is a private matter. I keep it to myself. If you've been taught this, and I was, please hear what Jesus is saying here. We are to make disciples, and that involves us going to people, baptizing people, teaching people to obey what Jesus has commanded us. This is not a private faith. Now, another thing, as we make disciples, we're helping them to follow Jesus. We're not helping them to follow us. They are not our disciples. They are Jesus' disciples. We are not gathering personal followers. We are equipping others to follow Jesus. A last thought on this. Some of us find the idea of disciple making pretty intimidating. We think perhaps that we have to be experts like theologians, or we have to be outgoing extroverts to make disciples. But we don't. We just have to be authentic disciples. If we are genuinely following Jesus, others can learn from us how to follow Jesus, simply by following our example. Paul the Apostle put it like this in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. Disciples of Jesus make more disciples of Jesus. Whew. I know I've shared a lot of information today. This is when a video is helpful because you can always pause it or replay it. Let me summarize in conclusion. Disciples of Jesus are followers of Jesus. Jesus is now in charge. Disciples of Jesus learn and obey Jesus' teaching. Disciples of Jesus have a close relationship with Jesus. Disciples of Jesus live fruitful lives. Disciples of Jesus love each other. Disciples of Jesus make more disciples of Jesus. May I close with this? The life of a disciple is truly the most magnificent life. Think about what these things mean to our life. This means, as a disciple, we are led by the one who always knows what is best. We are taught to live the way that we were made to live, ways that really work. We get to know Jesus personally, knowing that He is always with us. Our lives are transformed, getting more and more glorious. We learn to live in true love, loving and being loved. And we are able to help others to live this magnificent life. Friends, this is surely the ultimate life. Let's live it.